The last time I made a tile set was about 7 or 8 years ago for a game jam. I was quite new to pixel art at the time, so I've definitely improved since then. I'm not quite ready to start making my own game and drawing a tile set for that, but recently I've been making desktop icon wallpaper packs, and I thought it would be a great way to practice making tile sets and be a quicker way for making a variety of backgrounds for the wallpapers in the pack. We'll be using some tools that I've never tried before in Pixquare, which are the Tilemap layers and custom objects, and I'll be sharing how to set them up and any tips from my experience of using them along the way. Let's jump into it. Hey, my name is Jade, and I like to paint with pixels. Since it's my first tile set that I've drawn in a while, I want to keep it pretty simple. So we're going for a forest setting from a top-down view, because I've never tried that perspective before. We'll start with getting the base tiles down and trying a couple ways to add decorations after. Let's set up our tilemap layer in Pixquare. To create a layer specifically for tilemaps, open up the layers menu and hit this button here. This will open up a menu where you can name your file, import a tile set if you've made one in a previous project, and choose the overall grid size for your tile set. For this project, I'm going to be using 16 by 16 pixels, as this is what I've been working with a lot recently, and I think it's quite common to use in video games as well, so all good practice. When you hit done, a new button will appear in the bottom right corner, and you can hit that to open up the tile palette. If you start trying to draw straight away with the regular pencil, you'll notice that you can't draw on the canvas anymore, which caught me out at first. But don't worry, this is because our tile palette is currently empty, and we need to add a couple tiles first. To create a new tile, click on this button here with the plus symbol, and you can start drawing with this tile using the pencil tool next to the tile palette. There's a few tools here that you can use to interact specifically with tiles, so you can delete entire tiles or fill a space with a selected tile. Now when you draw on a tile, it'll actually show up, and it will automatically update all instances of that tile on the canvas, which is really useful to get a quick overview of how your adjustments look, especially in context with other tiles next to them. To try and cover all the tiles that I need, I started with a 3x3 grid of tiles, 4 for the edge pieces, 4 for the corner tiles, and 1 central piece that will be used to fill any of the gaps. Testing along the way was really useful for finding out what blocks were missing. I realized that I was not only missing the full water tile, which is quite important for big lakes, but also needed the inner corner pieces, so I ended up making 2 3x3 grid tiles, one where the water is on the outside and one where the water is on the inside of the tiles. When adding details to the tiles, I kept them pretty simple. I added a bit of texture mainly to the edge of the tiles, which meant that the other edges will connect quite cleanly. I also made variations of the edge tiles so that it looks a little bit less repetitive on longer stretches of tiles. Since we had a test layout already, I started working on some of the icons to go alongside the background to test that they would fit the scale. I wanted to have little friends in the setting, so I made a bunch of duck and frog icons to fill the scene with. I found that I could make both on-ground and in-water versions of some of the icons by adding a bit of blue at the bottom side of them to make it feel like part of it is submerged in the water. They look a bit odd on their own, but when you add them to the background, they actually work quite nicely. In the 3 dots menu on the tile palette, there's some useful features like toggling the grid so you can see which tile is where, and you can rename your tile set. There is also an option to set the number of tiles per row, which confused me at first, but it's just choosing how many tiles you want to display on each row of your tile palette. Since I'm working with 3x3 grids to represent all the options, I set this to 3 so that they're all connected the same way that I had it when I first created them. It makes it a bit easier for me to visualize where each of the tiles are meant to go and what their rules are for connecting them. For the base layout, I started by filling the entire map with just the ground texture, and then blocking in where the lake would go with the full water tile. I found this to be the quickest method to just jot down as many ideas as I had. Once I was happy with the general layout, I started adding all of the edge tiles, and this was really satisfying to do. It sort of felt like a puzzle in a way. I found that going around and filling in all the corners first, then the straight edges, and then the inner corners was the easiest way for me to make it make sense in my head. It takes a bit of time to draw the initial tiles, but if you're working on a project that involves making a lot of different layouts, it's well worth it in the long run. I couldn't believe how quick creating the actual layouts took. I think making 5 different layouts took me about 15 minutes, which is crazy to me. It makes a lot of sense why tile sets are used so much in games, to design really versatile and flexible environments. To make the decorations that would be bigger than a single tile, I thought that using custom objects would be interesting to try. From what I've gathered, they are essentially like a stamp or a sticker book of assets that you drag and drop a copy of them into your work. I thought that these would be useful for making a couple variations of trees and bushes for the forest. To make these into a custom object, click the 3 dots on the top left, and then click Custom Objects to open up the menu. Highlight the area that you would like to make into a custom object with the selection tool, and hit the plus icon, and boom! As simple as that. Now you can either select the object from the list and hit the check mark, or long press on the object and drag it into your scene. One drawback that I found with these custom objects is when you add them to your list and edit those instances, the changes will not be applied to every instance of that custom object like they are with the tile sets. You have to manually go in and redo those elements if you've changed them. So you have to be sure of how it looks before you add it to the list. I forgot to add some little water reflections on the lily pads, so then I had to go back and re-add those to all of my examples later on. Once I had all my decorative elements, it was time to put it all together. I went through these in layers, starting with the bigger objects and working my way down from the trees to the small bushes and the rocks. I knew that this was going to be used as sort of like a sticker page in a way, but as a desktop wallpaper, so I knew I needed a lot of space for people to add their own shortcuts and folders. So I tried to add little clusters of objects to try and find a balance of a decorated space if you didn't have a lot of shortcuts on your desktop, but also still have enough room to customize it if you do. The custom objects were really useful at this stage. It felt like I had infinite stickers to use. It was nice to also break up the tile maps a bit so that everything was not just fixed to a grid. To fill in the gaps of the grass, I made a second tile map. This one was mostly transparent, so we can still see the tile set that we just made underneath. I'm mainly going to be using this layer to add texture to the grass, through either smaller grass tufts or little flowers. Reusing the shapes and moving them around for new tiles gave a nice bit of variety, and combining these tiles into little clusters of flowers and grass worked really well here. With a couple of adjustments, here is the final result. This is actually what my desktop looks like at the moment, and I think this might be my favorite desktop pack I've made so far. It just feels so nice to have everything sort of integrated into the wallpaper, and it sort of feels like a sticker book in a way. The ducks and the frogs are really cute, and you can make little stories around what they're doing. It's very silly, but it makes it more exciting to open up my computer every day, so I think that's what matters. I'm so excited to build up this little library of assets, and I know that these will be very useful in future projects as well. I'm in the process of making more themes, but if you'd like to check out this Ducky Frog Pond theme, a link to my shop will be in the description. Do you have an environment or a theme that would be really fun as a desktop pack? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you'd like to learn more about an exercise that'll help you get started with pixel art and drawing smaller sprites, check out this video here, where we go through and make a set of fantasy icons. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care out there. Goodbye!